And now it's Boomer Life. Lifestyle ideas designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete. Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is Boomer Life with Sterling Fox.
Well, hello. Welcome to Boomer Life here on AM 650. On the program today, we're talking about retirement living with a delegation from Revera Retirement Living. Always a pleasure to welcome Lydia Miller, Regional Director of Sales for British Columbia for Revera. Nice to see you again, Lydia.
Hey, hi, Sterling. Good to be back.
Well, it's nice to have you back. And also, nice to have back from Kelowna and Revera's Dorchester, Therese Elvis is back. Hi.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
So good to be back in Vancouver with you.
Well, how's business in Kelowna these days?
It's brisk, actually.
I'll
I
bet.
have to say, this is the time of year when the weather gets good and Easter is on the horizon, that a lot of families get together and people decide to move forward in their plans that they've been putting off for a long time. So business is brisk.
Good. Now, Kelowna is a very... Do you want to do that again?
Yeah.
Okay. We
No
better
Easter.
stop and roll it back. Easter is come and gone.
Right.
It's May 12th.
Oh.
On Mother's Day.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. All right.
Thank you for catching my
Oh, sure.
look.
Yeah.
Good point.
No, well, and we'll just, because it's all time sensitive.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So that's the only thing is just circle
Yep.
May 12th in your mind, and that's
My
where
bad.
we are. We're on Monday, May 12th. There we go. Sure. Yep.
And now it's Boomer Life. Lifestyle ideas designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete. Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is Boomer Life with Sterling Fox.
Well, hello, and welcome to Boomer Life here on AM 650. Nice to have you along with us. And on the program today, we're going to talk about retirement living with the folks from Revera Retirement Living. Always a pleasure to welcome Lydia Miller to Boomer Life. Lydia is Regional Director of Sales for British Columbia for Revera. Nice to see you again.
Hello, good evening, Sterling. Good to be back.
Well, nice to have you back. And also welcoming back is an honor for us today to say hello and welcome back to Therese Elvis from Revera's Dorchester up in Kelowna. Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. Nice to
Good,
see you again.
Good. Nice to see you as well.
How's biz in Kelowna these days, Therese?
Business is brisk. It's that time of the year when families are getting together. It's good weather in Kelowna, and a lot of people are starting to make the move that they've been putting off for a while.
You know, I wanted to ask you about Kelowna because Kelowna, I mean, we in British Columbia think of Kelowna as it's kind of our backyard. It's our favorite getaway spot. But we're in tough competition with Albertans in Kelowna. In the whole Okanagan Valley, at least half of that part of our province is owned by Albertans. So I'm wondering about retirement living at the Dorchester in Kelowna. When you are getting people coming to you, and you're the person that most of them talk to first,
Correct.
are many of them from Alberta, or am I just imagining things?
Oh, no, we have our fair share of people that are coming from Alberta country, but lots of people are coming from parts of British Columbia, and of course we accommodate a lot of the local people who were born and raised in Kelowna and want to stay in Kelowna. So we have a good cross-section of people.
How many people at the Dorchester? How many members of your community?
Well, I'm going to say 150, and
Okay.
that changes, goes up and down a little bit, but we're a community of approximately 150, and I think it's a perfect size. It's large enough that we have the resources to provide lots of quality services, entertainment, and our excellent culinary program, but we're small enough that we're a community where everybody gets to know each other.
Singles and couples.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And can we clarify something right up front here, Lydia? Because you and I always have this part of the conversation together. And Therese, it's so nice to see you again. Please jump in. It's the whole matter of the definition
Yes.
of the types of accommodation at the in retirement communities. We hear about independent living, we hear about assisted living, and we hear about complete care. And there's a bit of jargon going on that for the initiated can be a little confusing. So, Therese, start us off with the Dorchester in Kelowna. What category of retirement community would it be?
Well, we're supportive housing. We're independent living with support. And I agree with you that the landscape of different levels of support gets very confusing
does,
to
yeah.
the average person who is looking for accommodation for themselves or for their parents.
Even people in our industry get confused by the definitions,
They
right?
do,
You
exactly.
know, I'm kind of pleased to hear that because I confuse easily, and this one baffles me. Because it's complicated by the fact that some organizations refer to to these various categories of residences by different names. It's not at all helpful. But the Dorchester, please.
Well, I think when people come to us and say, I need assisted living, they've heard that term assisted living so many times that they think that's the category they fall in, whether they've actually had an assessment to determine that definitely or not.
Okay.
Lots of times they actually are really looking for supportive housing. It's the services that are provided that you need to be serious about determining where you're going to go.
Okay.
So if you are looking for accommodation for your parents, for example, where you think they need well-balanced nutritional meals on a regular basis, their social world would be enhanced by more activities and recreation.
They're tired of housekeeping, cleaning the bathroom, making the bed, doing the
Exactly.
laundry.
May have given up their driver's license and still want to maintain their independence. So having a private bus system that is exclusive to the Dorchester, this is the type of accommodation that will be very suitable for them, even though their first comment was, I think we need assisted living.
Right, but it is in fact, and I'm going back to the definitions I'm familiar with, is it an independent living community?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
we help you maintain your independence and your freedom.
Right.
Independent with support.
Right. Okay. So what's the difference in terms of the way a person is dealt with by the community if you're in an independent living community, Lydia, or an assisted living community? Or is that the same thing?
No.
Aha.
No. And the technical...
please clarify for us.
Thank you for asking. The technical differentiation is to do with licensing as well. Okay? Independent, just to keep it simple, you need to be mobile, self-mobile.
Okay.
All right? You need to have good cognitive health, and just those two main categories, you would qualify for independent living.
Right.
Okay, just from a physical perspective. If you're looking at the technical term of assisted living,
Right.
this is where some people get all muddled and think, oh, that's a nursing home situation, and I'm not going there. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Like, forget that. Bye-bye.
Right.
But even in our industry, like I said, they get confused because in independent living, we provide the meals, the balanced nutrition, the activities, the transportation, you know, to outings and shopping.
As
and
Teresa's described.
everything. That by providing just those basic chore-like activities that people, the seniors especially, don't want to do. I mean, I don't want to do them every day, right?
Right.
We consider that independent because we're freeing you from that.
Right.
So you can enjoy retirement. But others consider that assisted living because we're assisting with those chores.
Now, you see, friends, why we're taking a little bit of time off the beginning of the program to clarify this, because if you're a boomer like us and you have parents who are interested or at least considering a retirement community lifestyle option, well, then it's helpful to the boomer kids who are trying to get this organized to know what the heck the definitions are so they can slot mom or dad or both into the proper community.
Exactly, because you might have mom and dad as a couple. Maybe mom is fully independent and dad might need some assistance.
Right.
And by that terminology, it's also special licensing in what we're allowed to provide in services, and the level of services. It's like med management. You know, dad's got a bunch of medication. Mom's been helping him take them in the morning, take them at night, make sure he's not over-medicating or self-medicating because maybe there is just a little bit of dementia starting to happen, right? But he's still self-mobile. He's mostly lucid most of the time. Therefore, a little bit of assistance is required. Maybe it's a little bit of assistance with bathing once or twice a week.
Right.
That type of simple stuff and getting those support hose and nylon, socks on in the morning can be very difficult.
Okay.
Again, that is an example of assisted living service.
Okay, so now we have independent living, we have assisted living. What's the third category, Lydia, of a definition for a retirement community then?
We call it complex care.
Okay.
And in about 4 of my buildings, we have all 3 different levels of service available.
Kind of a campus then, where you have
Totally.
all sorts of types of accommodation.
Totally. As a senior moves in, they're totally independent. As they age, and we all age, the hearing goes a little bit. Maybe the speed of how you walk isn't as brisk. The dietary needs change. You can age, and I know it sounds simple, but you can age in place. You don't have to go to another building. We can add support services as you need them, as you age, so you don't have to go through that hassle of moving and transitioning again.
Right, okay.
And the complex care, again, that's where we have nurses on site or on staff and accessible 24/7.
Okay.
And care aides that come in to provide, the quality licensed care that the individual might need.
So part of being a complex care community is the presence of qualified medical people like nurses all the time.
Qualified professionals,
right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And when we're talking about the Dorchester and Kelowna, a quick question to ask yourself is, does my parent need scheduled care or unscheduled support? And if you get into the unscheduled portion of it, often an assessment is necessary through Interior Health to make that final determination. At the Dorchester, we provide scheduled support.
Right.
So if you're needing some med support, that's being done at a certain time. If you're needing a bath assist, that's being done at a certain time.
Right.
When you get a little bit more into the assisted living, it can sometimes be necessary to do it in an unscheduled, which takes you more into the complex care.
And for the boomer kids out there, depending on where you're living, you might have to approach a different health authority.
Right. Of course, yeah.
Interior Health for the Okanagan area.
Fraser Health for the Valley,
exactly.
and on and on it goes.
Vancouver Coastal.
Right.
Yep. Or VIHA on the island.
Okay. So when we're, both of you are the kind of people that inquiring boomers are likely to see. When we go to the Dorchester, for example, Therese, it's likely we'll be shown to your office for that initial chat about, well, what's it like here? What's it cost to live here? What services do you provide? Et cetera, et cetera. Do you find that a lot of people coming to you with inquiries have misdiagnosed, for lack of a better word, the level that their parents of care that their parents need? They think their parents need a different type of care than the parents actually do?
Yes, I think many people just are not clear. They can get bogged down in the quicksand of the terminology.
Exactly.
And I am the first person that you'll probably see, unless you call and speak to the receptionist. I'll be the first person that you meet. But then it becomes a bit of a team approach, because I would very much want you to meet the director of recreation. Perhaps the social world is really what you're lacking right now, so she will be able to describe all the activities and the recreation that might hit the spot.
Right.
I might bring out our director of culinary, who will talk a little bit about the meal program, which is excellent, by the way. And
and special dietary needs.
Yeah.
We can address those as well, because there is diabetes out there. There are gluten-free and assorted lactose intolerances.
Right. Okay. So when but you've mentioned a couple of times the notion of an assessment. So these meetings that you have with boomer kids wanting to know about, well, what would it be like to have mom or dad live here?
Most of the time, in a fully independent building, it's just the simple documentation of a physician's statement as to the general health and well-being of the parent, shall we say.
Okay.
When you're looking at maybe some other funky things going on in mom or dad's life and physical well-being or cognitive health, that's when we need to have a third-party professional come in and do a, say, small mini mental assessment, just to see where they are in the rating scale of acuity, cognitive health, and responses.
Right, and it would make perfect sense, because if you're going to provide the kind of care Revera is quite famous for, you want to be able to know that the person who's coming in is going to be receiving the care he or she should receive.
We got to make sure that we can provide what they need,
right,
when they need it. And if not, then we're happy to recommend someone else.
So it's mostly just the confusion around the semantics of the definitions of these various types of care that has we boomers a little confused on what exactly is appropriate.
Yes.
I think many of the boomers with aging parents, as soon as they see some red flags, knowing that things aren't the same for their parents and they really probably would be better moving somewhere else,
right,
I think the first thing they think of, we need assisted living.
Right. But and only because, and let's talk about a couple of those clues, if you don't mind, Therese. What are the sort of red flag clues that you hear most about from boomers who come and say, well, Mom's starting to do this, or I've noticed this about Dad's behavior recently, and it's causing us a great deal of concern. What are those sort of behavioral clues?
Got a couple of good stories there, right?
Yeah, Lydia will elaborate, but I think, first of all, the dietary issue is probably one that everybody is looking at.
Not eating well anymore?
Not eating regularly, not eating well, losing weight.
Okay.
Sometimes there'll be extreme examples where somebody is not cooking properly on the stove. They might be leaving things on the stove too long, forgetting them. They may have given up their driver's license and may have experienced the loss of a lot of friends who have moved to places like the Dorchester ahead of them. So their social world is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
The fridge is emptier and emptier and emptier.
Right.
And sometimes you can notice the house isn't kept in the same way.
Right.
Somebody who would keep the house extremely tidy in their past life may just not be noticing some of the things that are changing.
And that happened last week.
Oh, yeah?
We had a situation I was privy to when I was visiting one of my communities, and there was a situation where a boomer adult child went to visit Mom and Dad, and Mom had just cleaned. And the level of dust and the corner residue on the floor, it was like she didn't see it. She couldn't see it, but she swore it was clean. And she argued with the kids. Don't you do that. I do the cleaning. It's clean. What's wrong with you?
Right. So, but again, back to my misdiagnosis point is that because now there is a frailty that's obvious, that would cause certainly a boomer child to go, my gosh, Mom needs some help here. And so because Mom needs some help, suddenly, well, we got to have that assisted living going on. No, maybe that's not the case at all. Maybe Mom just needs a nice retirement community to live in quite independently. Yeah. Thank you very much.
They lose track of regular meal times. Sometimes, and again, another little story is we had a son approach us because Dad was eating at odd hours just because he wasn't paying attention to the clock. He didn't need to. He was all alone. So he's like having breakfast when he should be having lunch, and he's having dinner when he should be going to bed. So it was, just those small little signs, if you will. And the one that's really big that most people misdiagnose, shall we say, when they try to self-diagnose, Dad had a fall. He's losing it. He's feeble.
Right. Well, and that's...
That reminds me of a fall this morning.
Oh, really? Yes, indeed. Yes.
Thank you.
Here in the radio studio.
I mean, sometimes the falls, they may mean that you need to look into something and do something serious, and
you just got to watch the tripwires.
Exactly. And your heels.
In Lydia's case, at least. Yes.
But can I just quickly mention that not everybody that moves into a place like the Dorchester in Kelowna, which is independent living with support, is coming in because their family has noticed something. I'm thinking of a lady who has come from one of the senior condominium developments near the Dorchester, and her comment to me was, I wanted to come while I was feeling well, while I was energetic, when I could enjoy all the services that you have. I don't want to be the last one to leave my independent condominium where everybody is having to help me. I want to be proactive. I want to be there sooner rather than later.
Right. I just took the bull by the horns and off she went.
Yeah.
Good move. Need to take a quick break here. We're talking retirement living on this episode of Boomer Life here on AM 650. Our guests so far, Lydia Miller, Regional Director of Sales for Revera, British Columbia, and from the Dorchester in Kelowna, lifestyle consultant Therese Elvis. And when we come back, a third guest will join us. Patrick Fagan will talk about, downsizing and relocating when we continue right here on Boomer Life on AM 650.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on AM 650.